Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha with Ice Cream Fitness here, and once again it is time for the Monday Q&A. And yes, I'm wearing Under Armour. It's all long sleeve because my flat is freezing even with the heaters on. I don't know how to get it any warmer. But hold on, let me give you guys a bicep shot first. Alright guys, let's jump right into these questions. First question: what's your PR in bench, squat, deadlift, overhead press, and barbell rows? I'm going to assume you mean right now. I've talked in the past about some of my previous PRs. And keep in mind, guys, I'm still building up strength. I do not consider myself strong right now. I will be strong by the end of this year, though. I have only been lifting weights again for 20 months after being forced to take 3 years off for medical reasons, spending a year in bed. And 20 months ago, I couldn't even bench press the bar. So I've been rebuilding. My current numbers, I'm going to give this in kilos because all the plates at my gym are in kilos. My current pause bench is around right at 150 kilos. My squat, I actually have not done a free barbell squat without chains or bands or a box under it in, I don't know, around 8 months. So that being said, I would have to estimate based upon all of my other work that I do around it. And I would say that my squat is probably, a max squat right now for me would be probably about 215 to 220 kilos. So getting right at towards 5 plates a side. My current deadlift, I've pulled raw with just chalk, I've pulled 250 kilos the other day. Today with the chains counted, I pulled 270, but it was probably only 250 to 255 off the floor because I had chains on it. My overhead press, the most I think I've strict pressed is 90 kilos. And barbell rows, I have no clue. I've dropped out all my barbell rowing. I was doing reps with like 140 kilos. I've done T-bar rows with 180 kilos for sets of 5, but I'm doing strict pendlays right now, and I usually just do those with 120. And that's for rep work. So those are my current numbers. That's what I lift. By the end of the year, I am hoping for at least 180 on the bench, at least 240 to 250 on the squat, and I'm shooting for a 300 kilo deadlift by the end of the year. And that's the other two. I don't care. Those are accessory movements. I'm not overly concerned with my maxes. All right, next question. Would you approach training an athlete somewhat similar to how you would train a power lifter? Yeah, I've covered that a little bit in the past in some other videos about some sport-specific training, and there would always be some power training, actual powerlifting style training involved when training an athlete. Absolutely, because there's almost no sport on earth that you do not need explosive power and speed strength. So I would very much train them similar to a power lifter. There would always be a power training element to their weight training, and it would probably make up the bulk of their training. But by that same token, you would have to make sure that no movement you are doing trains an element you don't want for their sport. For example, you've got to be careful doing heavy box squats for an athlete that has to do a lot of sidestepping on the field, or that have to cut to the side really hard back and forth. And the reason for that is that it can negatively affect that particular performance pattern. And so just different things like that you would have to look at, and you would always need to make it sport specific and make sure that what you're doing can apply, just like what I discussed in the video the other day for basketball players and increasing their vertical jump. I went into very specific types of power training and accessory work that I would utilize to increase vertical jump, to train all the performance elements, and the powerlifting was a part of that, but it was not the entirety of it. And so you would always need to incorporate resistance training that is very sport specific to the specific skills that you need for a sport or for your position and what you play in your sport. You know, obviously a defensive lineman and a quarterback do not need to train the exact same way. They have different skills that they use. But yes, absolutely, there would always be some power training involved, and it would be a heavy part of any athlete's weight training regimen. And in fact, I wouldn't have them do any training that wasn't power or speed strength related as far as weights go, unless you just need to bulk them up more because their sport requires them to be at a very heavy body weight. But for anyone who's concerned with power to weight ratios, I would actually only do power work. And I would never use their resistance training to try to train endurance other than true conditioning work like GPP. Okay, next question. My scale weight remains the same, but I have noticed I'm getting leaner. Is that a sign I'm dropping body fat? Also, people keep telling me that you can't lose a significant amount of body fat without losing a significant amount of weight. Thoughts? As I've covered over and over again, there are certain categories of people, and novice lifters are on that list, who can recomposition effectively. So if you are very, very new to lifting and you are eating at maintenance calories, it isn't unreasonable that every month you're going to gain possibly a pound of muscle and lose a pound of fat for your first few months lifting, which may not seem like a lot to you, but that is enough to be visible. If you were to do that for 3 or 4 months straight, it would make a noticeable difference in terms of your body composition and your appearance. So yeah, it is absolutely possible. Just keep in mind that this is going to be short-lived. You're going to very quickly, probably within 6 months, you're going to run into a wall pretty much, to where if you keep doing this and you just maintain body weight and try to recomposition, you're going to spin your wheels. But yeah, for a few months, you can pull this off successfully early in your training. Absolutely can be done. You might even change your body composition a full 1% every month. But again, just keep in mind, this is going to be short-lived. It's not going to last for a very long time. All right, next question. What's your opinion on tanning weeks or months before a show? In my personal experience, not just with myself, because I was always a shitty bodybuilder, to be honest. I'm clumsy, so I'm a terrible poser. I always suck at getting dialed in, so don't use me as an example. I was never going to go pro as a bodybuilder. There's just no way that was ever going to happen. So, but I have known people who were much better bodybuilders than I was, and did learn from them and did observe. And in my experience, if you start tanning regularly, at least a couple of months out before your show or your photo shoot, and you get a nice dark color underneath the pro tan before you put your coats of paint on, it does seem to look a bit better. So yes, I would advise starting your tanning at least a couple of months out before your final day, so that you can have at least a good base tan under there for when you put your coats of paint on. All right, last question. Do you think that great apes should have legal rights? I personally am a great respecter of animals and animal rights, and I very much think that we need to have laws in place to avoid cruelty to animals. Now, the great apes, on the other hand, though, we would have to consider the fact that we are very closely related to them, and a lot of them have very high IQs. There are many great apes that, in terms of IQ and intellectual capacity and capacity for reason and logic and problem solving, are just as high as a human child. So in that regard, I think we do need to further protect their rights, because they are almost the equivalent intellectually, emotionally, to a 4 or 5-year-old human child, and you wouldn't allow anyone to harm them, or we have laws in place to protect that. So I do think we do need laws in place to better protect their safety and their treatment, and not allow them to be used for certain things like scientific experimentation any more than we would a child. But on the other hand, when it comes in terms of what we think of as actual legal rights, in the sense of their ability to have a say in society, or if it's to vote or to own property or anything like that, we would need to step back and again look at intellectual capacity and culpable mental state. And most of them are not intelligent enough or possess enough reason to actually make legal choices and decisions in our society any more than a 5-year-old child would. So in that regard, I wouldn't say true legal rights like we think of as people, but I do think the fact that their level of sentience and logic and capacity for reason, I think that we do need to respect their rights a bit more than we currently do. But I don't think we should go so far as to give them something like legal voting rights or property rights or things like that. All right, guys, that's really all I have to say on that today. I will put out another one of these later. I hope it has been informative. Hello? So I hope it has been informative, and I will talk to you next time.